There comes a time in every reflective person's life when they come to understand that not all threats in the world arrive with aggression or noise. Some slide into your existence with a friendly facade, gentle words, and the pretense of knowing you deeper than you know yourself. These dangers don't demand attention through dramatic outbursts. Instead, they weave themselves into the fabric of your daily life, often disguised as allies, confidants, or even lovers. They exploit the very human need for connection, turning it into a subtle weapon that erodes your foundation from within. Psychopaths don't dominate through brute strength or overt intimidation. They gain ground silently by manipulating your feelings, your faith in them, and your deepest doubts. Their approach is calculated, patient, and insidious, designed to make you question not just the world around you, but your place in it. But those of us who prioritize mastering our inner selves over being swayed by external forces learn to spot what most overlook. We draw from the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, who taught that true freedom lies in controlling our perceptions and responses. And once those patterns emerge, we refuse to be deceived by facades, reclaiming our autonomy with quiet resolve. To truly arm yourself against such predators, it's essential to delve deeper into their tactics. This isn't just about recognition, it's about building an unbreakable inner fortress. Let's explore these warning signs in detail, drawing on ancient philosophy and modern insights, so you can protect your mind and spirit from those who seek to undermine it. Warning sign 1. They distort your sense of reality through quiet disruption. The initial indicator isn't bold or theatrical, it's understated, nearly undetectable at first glance. A psychopath gradually alters how you view yourself without seeming to interfere, like a slow drip that eventually floods a room. They erode your self-assurance in tiny fragments, a casual remark here that undermines your achievement, a small inconsistency there that makes you second-guess a decision, a skeptical glance that plants a seed of inadequacy, or a subtle expression of letdown that lingers in your thoughts long after. Consider how this plays out in everyday interactions. Perhaps they comment on your outfit in a way that sounds complimentary but carries an undercurrent of criticism, leaving you wondering if you're not quite measuring up. Or they might contradict something you said weeks ago, insisting you misremembered, even when you're certain of the facts. They feed on disarray because it swiftly undermines even the most resilient mindset, turning a once clear thinker into someone plagued by hesitation. One morning, you find yourself feeling fragmented, your ideas muddled, pausing before you express yourself when you never did before. This isn't coincidence, it's deliberate strategy, a form of gaslighting that psychologists have studied extensively. As Epictetus cautioned in his Enchiridion, if anyone seeks to dominate your thoughts, protect them more vigilantly than your belongings. A psychopath doesn't crave control over your actions, they aim to dictate what you believe is achievable, reshaping your worldview to suit their agenda. They plant seeds of doubt about your recollections. Did that really happen the way I think? Was I misinterpreting their intentions? Am I overreacting to what seems like harmless behavior? This is how they sap your resilience, not by force, but by persuading you that your internal guide is faulty, unreliable, or even delusional. Over time, this can lead to a profound sense of isolation, where you begin to rely on them as the arbiter of truth, handing over the reins of your reality. Yet we don't yield our lucidity. Without a fight, we watch closely, detach ourselves emotionally, and question, who gains from my disorientation? When the finger points to them, when their presence consistently correlates with your growing confusion, we depart steadily, without turmoil or fanfare. Our thoughts belong to us, and no deceiver deserves a foothold there. By practicing Stoic indifference to external manipulations, we preserve our mental sovereignty, turning potential weakness into unassailable strength. To illustrate, think of historical figures who faced similar subtle erosions. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of maintaining clarity amid chaos, advising us to focus on what is within our power. In modern terms, therapists recommend journaling interactions to spot patterns, a practical tool that aligns with this ancient wisdom. By documenting inconsistencies, you build evidence against their distortions, empowering yourself to break free before the damage deepens. Warning sign 2. They foster reliance by offering what they'll eventually retract. The second red flag is perhaps the most perilous, as it preys on our innate desire for stability and affection. A psychopath provides just the right amount of kindness to draw you in, like bait on a hook, then pulls it back to leave you yearning, creating an emotional roller coaster that keeps you off balance. They engineer a shortage of emotions with expert skill, granting compliments only to deny them later, displaying tenderness followed by cold detachment, making you feel special one moment and irrelevant the next. This intermittent reinforcement is a tactic backed by behavioral psychology, similar to how slot machines hook gamblers with unpredictable rewards. Each attempt to steady yourself is met with another imbalance they create, pulling you deeper into their web. Marcus Aurelius noted in his writings, the soul takes on the hue of its contemplations. That's why psychopaths color your psyche with loops of anticipation, anxiety, bewilderment, respite, and hopelessness, dyeing your thoughts with shades of dependency. They seek to make your inner realm orbit their validation, addicting you not to their presence but to the idealized self they dangle. If only they'd restore their favor, if only you'd prove yourself worthy once more. An enlightened perspective spots this right away. We recognize that true relationships don't fluctuate wildly like a stormy sea, they flow steadily, built on mutual respect. Authentic affection doesn't demand dominance or come with strings attached. Sincere bonds don't imprison you in cycles of highs and lows, they uplift and stabilize. Their actions aren't fervor, they're calculated moves in a game you didn't know you were playing. Not warmth, but a tool for addiction. Not concern, but a means of depletion that leaves you emotionally bankrupt. And in grasping this, a profound shift occurs, their enchantment shatters, like glass under pressure. We embrace the timeless insight that those who must command others are battling their own demons, and we opt out of that conflict entirely. Reclaiming our emotional freedom means ceasing to let their endorsement shape our value. We favor logic over impulse, precision over turmoil, and personal fortitude over deceit. Practical steps include setting firm boundaries early, such as limiting contact during cold phases and seeking support from trusted friends who can offer objective views. Epictetus reminds us that we control our reactions, not the actions of others. Use this to detach and observe without engagement. This is the downfall of a psychopath's influence, not via clash or confrontation, which often fuels their game, but through our steadfast composure and quiet withdrawal. By extending our awareness, we prevent the cycle from repeating, emerging stronger and more discerning. Warning sign 3. They convert your strengths into liabilities and exploit your compassion against you. A third indicator is profoundly cunning, so expertly woven into the relationship that many fail to detect it until they've squandered years to someone who methodically unraveled their identity, piece by piece. A psychopath identifies your finest qualities, your empathy that allows you to connect deeply, your steadfastness that makes you reliable, your endurance in tough times, your urge to comprehend and resolve conflicts, and meticulously transforms them into openings for exploitation. They don't target your shortcomings, which are evident and often guarded with defensiveness. Instead, they assail your merits, turning what makes you admirable into chains that bind you. They observe you like a strategist assessing terrain, methodically, unhurriedly, pinpointing the roots of your power. Then they warp that power into restraints. Your kindness opens doors for them to enter unchecked. Your mercy shields their misdeeds from accountability. Your tolerance arms them with the time to deepen their hold. Your optimism becomes the line they tighten whenever escape beckons, convincing you that change is just around the corner. Seneca advised in his letters, no one is more susceptible to harm than those who believe they're immune to trickery. Contemporary studies in psychology reinforce this. Highly compassionate people, eager to find positivity in others, are prime targets for such manipulators, not due to frailty, but because their virtues obscure the reality of those unbound by ethics or remorse. A psychopath exploits this with razor-sharp accuracy, valuing your generosity only as leverage, your resolve because it renders you reliable and predictable, your pursuit of harmony by stirring discord you feel driven to mend, over and over. They detect your accountability and leverage it, framing every setback as your burden, making you feel responsible for their unhappiness or failures. They drag you into unsolicited emotional skirmishes, then fault you for seeking resolution, turning your peacemaking into a perpetual drain. As you drain your energy resolving issues they engineered, perhaps manufacturing crises like sudden accusations or fabricated emergencies, they observe, plotting, gauging your limits with cold detachment. They train you not with suffering but with perplexity, a gradual conditioning that reshapes your behavior. You start pondering, perhaps I'm exaggerating the issue. Maybe they're correct in their criticisms. Could I be misjudging their intentions entirely? If I just extend more grace, more insight, more effort, things might improve and return to the honeymoon phase. But improvement never arrives, for the appealing side you recall was mere pretense, a facade crafted to ensnare. Psychopaths employ mirroring as a ploy. They echo your principles early on to build trust, reflecting back your values like a mirror to make you feel understood and aligned. Then they discard them once you're hooked, revealing their true nature. They twist your wish to see virtue into ignorance of vice, your duty into a snare that binds you to toxic loyalty, your resilience into a gradual dissolution of limits where, no, becomes harder to say. A truly alert individual senses a change, not in the manipulator, but inwardly, a faint constriction in the chest during interactions, a widening gap from your intuition that once guided you confidently, an enduring weariness that's more profound than mere tiredness, affecting your spirit and vitality. This isn't melancholy or rumination, it's your core wisdom, honed by ancient sages like the Stoics, signaling imbalance. This tie extracts more than it provides, siphoning your energy while offering nothing sustainable in return. Marcus Aurelius reminded us in Meditations that the mind transforms barriers into advantages, using adversity as fuel for growth. But starved of sharpness, assaulted by contradictions, worn down by schemes, it struggles to evolve or prevail, it merely endures, day after day. Endurance is the psychopath's desired mode, as it distracts from scrutinizing their motives and keeps you reactive rather than proactive. The enlightened escape by reconnecting inwardly, not by striving more to fix them, rationalizing their behavior, or mending the irreparable, but by withdrawing and reflecting deeply, who was I prior to this entanglement? What mattered to me before the haze of doubt set in? Why have my defenses softened over time? Why does their company deplete rather than empower me, leaving me exhausted rather than inspired? To aid this reflection, incorporate Stoic practices like daily meditation or reviewing your journal for patterns. Psychopaths dread introspection, for it ignites awareness and autonomy. Once clarity returns, their hold slips like sand through fingers. Your discernment becomes an impenetrable shield, your restraint a sharp sword, your self-reliance the fortified door they can no longer breach. When you finally depart, they're astonished, not merely at your exit, but at your enlightenment. You're no longer foreseeable, no longer manipulable, no longer ensnared by your own goodness twisted against you. In that instant, you seize back what terrifies a psychopath, a psyche that's sovereign once more, free to thrive without their shadow. Warning sign 4. When you begin justifying yourself to one who grasps the facts, control is already theirs. There's a form of influence that doesn't yell, intimidate, or destroy outright, it analyzes you with precision, probing for cracks in your mental armor. A psychopath may not assault your circumstances head-on, often, they undermine your grasp on truth itself. No need for volume or theatrics, they simply seed uncertainty in your own judgment, making you their unwitting accomplice in your own confusion. The early cue is faint but telling. You catch yourself clarifying, reiterating, elaborating on details, despite their full awareness of events. This isn't a genuine quest for understanding, it's a ploy to wear you down. A psychopath debates not for resolution but to fray yours, contorting your statements, probing your intentions with feigned innocence, feigning ignorance of basics, not from puzzlement, but to induce yours and keep you on the defensive. Seneca alerted in his essays that an unsettled mind falls readily to conquest, vulnerable to those who stir the waters. Their aim, prevent your serenity, for a serene mind pierces their veil with ease, a turbulent one yields to it, bending to their narrative. Against a psychopath, the arena isn't the dispute itself, it's your mental poise, your ability to remain centered. They crave you riled, reactive, protective, pursuing their sanction amid their dismantling, turning every conversation into a labyrinth. Before long, you're defending your aims, your essence, your blamelessness, your logic, not from actual error, but because they've instilled a need for validation to affirm your correctness. This isn't healthy discord, it's dominion disguised as dialogue. Epictetus stated profoundly, whoever provokes your anger claims mastery over you. Psychopaths orchestrate scenarios for your internal unraveling, not bodily harm, but existential doubt. They desire distrust in your senses, hesitation over emotions, auditory recall, even visuals witnessed firsthand. Once self-doubt takes root, you'll cling to their narrative, and that's their triumph, a victory won without a single blow. But practitioners of inner mastery evade their arena altogether. We transcend it by choice. We withhold explanations for what's already known, shun debates with deceit, reject bargains with falsehoods that serve no purpose. We preserve vitality for verity, for sharpness, for the controllable aspects of life. When pretense of misunderstanding persists despite clear evidence, we retreat quietly, not fleeing in fear, but triumphing through wisdom. Marcus Aurelius observed in his journal that the mind repurposes hurdles as energy, alchemizing challenges into growth. So we harness their deceit, their reality warping, their mental mist, as a cue for refusal and reinforcement of our principles. Enlightened spirits don't rationalize to shadows, we cease nourishing them entirely, starving the manipulation of our attention. If you've been ensnared in loops of validation, protection, or vindication, know this, you weren't deficient or foolish, you were selected precisely for your strengths. But now, you're rousing from the trance. And rousing is a psychopath's greatest dread, for reclaiming your viewpoint reclaims your authority, leaving them powerless in the face of your renewed clarity. Warning sign 5. They isolate you subtly, severing your ties to reality checks. A final, often overlooked sign is how they gradually distance you from your support network, not through overt demands but through clever insinuations that make you pull away voluntarily. They might criticize your friends or family in passing, suggesting they're jealous of your happiness or don't truly understand you. Over time, this plants doubt, making you confide less in others and more in them, the very source of the distortion. This isolation amplifies their control, as without external perspectives, their version of events becomes your only reference. Stoics like Seneca emphasize the value of wise counsel, warning against solitude in judgment. Modern research on abusive dynamics highlights this as a key red flag, where victims find themselves increasingly alone, reliant on the manipulator for validation. To counter this, actively nurture your connections, sharing experiences with trusted allies. Recognize when conversations steer you toward secrecy or division, that's the signal to reconnect outwardly. By maintaining a broad view, you prevent their echo chamber from forming, preserving your independence. In conclusion, recognizing these signs isn't about paranoia, it's about empowerment. The Stoics taught that happiness and freedom stem from inner control, not external circumstances. By applying these insights, you build a life resilient to manipulation, where your mind remains your greatest ally. Arm yourself with awareness, practice daily reflection, and surround yourself with genuine bonds that uplift rather than undermine. For deeper explorations, unique perspectives, and practical exercises drawn from Stoic philosophy, join our community today, link in the description below. If this struck a chord and illuminated your path, subscribe to Stoic Insights for ongoing guidance, more in-depth analyses, and wisdom to navigate life's complexities with unyielding strength. Remember, the journey to mastery is ongoing. Start today, and watch your world transform.